Um, Pretty good amount of... Birds of Paradise is quite powerful. Venser is quite powerful. I'm not sure how blue we want to be. This is only one blue mana. This is only one blue mana. Frost Titan is double blue, but it's a 6 mana spell. And Chronicler is just not powerful enough to first pick. Treetop Village is always useful. It's one of the best mana lands ever made. Very efficient. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do I need a 5th elf is the question. I've got, let's take a look at the cost sort. Given I have natural order, I have a pretty good number of these spells, and putting a Sword of Fire and Ice on an elf is just as good as putting it on one of these things. So I think I'm going to take the elf here. Birds of Paradise. It's a type of elf. Tropical Island. That's really good. Noble Hierarch would be awesome in our deck, but we really want to Verdant Catacombs into Tropical Island to get our blue mana for the Sky Swallower, for the Ancestral Recall. Simic Signet would also be good here, but we've got a lot of playable cards already, and I think I'd like to take some fixing lands. Simic Signet, Sphinx of Jwar Isle, Noble Hierarch. We could wheel a Thrun the last roll, because if there's only one green drafter other than us at the table, they'll probably take the Noble Hierarch, which will leave the Thrun for us. So I think it's pretty reasonable to expect to wheel Thrun, and it's pretty solid against the control matchups. Obstinate Baloth actually would be pretty solid, just as a sideboard card, even in the main deck potentially. The red deck, if there is a red deck out there, it can be very, very strong, and this just stops the red deck in its tracks. We have 11 creatures, not really enough creatures for me to want to play this Garruk. And Green Sun Zenith can make sure you get the Obstinate Baloth when you absolutely have to have the life. 4 life is pretty good. Between Primal Command and Obstinate Baloth, we should be pretty well situated against the red deck. And it's just a fine threat against a lot of the fair decks. 4 mana, 4/4. It's always good. That's what I'm scared of. I think I'm going to take the Glenelundra Archmage. Thragtusk is also pretty good. But Glenelundra Archmage is just really, really strong. There's so many powerful spells in this cube. It's going to hose a lot of decks, and the Persist is pretty strong. It gives us a flyer to get through. We could counter a Wrath. We can ramp into this and have it pretty early. Pretty happy about that. Opposition, actually, could be good in our deck. Counterspell, not necessarily as good, just because we aren't that blue. We have 13 creatures. A lot of opposition is really a way to make all of our elves be good. In addition, we have Deranged Hermit and Garruk to make more creatures. I'm going to take the opposition here. I think it'll be very good if we pick up a couple of more green-blue fixing. The double blue is the only thing that is pushing me away from taking the opposition, but regrowth will be okay. Not a lot of other stuff. Trinket Mage, Mox Ruby is also a consideration, but only one target for the Trinket Mage right now. Gaia's Cradle. It's got to be Gaia's Cradle. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1-drops, 2 2-drops, and a 3-drop, so Gaia's Cradle will be able to ramp us pretty consistently. We have a lot of playables, so I'm not too sad to skip out on the Oracle of Mul Daya, even though it's pretty solid. Just take the Gaia's Cradle. It's really strong. Alright. Here I think I'm going to take the Animate Dead. None of these cards are great for me. None of them are really what I want. I'm just going to hate on Animate Dead because I'm a man who hates Animate Dead. Call of the Herd could be good with opposition, but that's a pretty marginal interaction. We can see white weenie potentially being open if we had gone that route. Wasteland is definitely something to consider. We saw Crucible of Worlds, which it's strong with. I doubt the Crucible is going to wheel, though. Someone probably has a strip mine by now, and that's just too good to pass up. I think I'm going to take the Elf of Deep Shadow. If we decide we want to splash black instead of blue, this will help us with that, and it could just replace like an Arbor Elf or something. We wheel the Treetop Village, which is pretty good. I'm going to take the Treetop Village. It's going to go in our deck, no doubt. Thrun and Noble Hierarch both wheeled, which is pretty surprising. Noble Hierarch is going to fix our mana just as well as Simic Signet does, but it's going to be another 1-drop for our Gaia's Cradle. It's also going to fix our blue mana for the Frost Titan. It's going to be a creature for the opposition. I'm going to take the Noble Hierarch. I really, really want the Thrun, but I can't pass Noble Hierarch. It's just impossible for me to do that. And I think having done that, we can probably hide the Elves of Deep Shadow. Garruk or Genesis Wave. What does this do? This is not that great. I'm going to take the Genesis Wave. Could be good. We can Genesis Wave into a bunch of creatures and opposition. That could be a lot of fun. Looks like I'm probably not going to need to play the Obstinate Baloth because I don't think any person is in red. The fact that this wheeled, so I'm going to take the blue-black card from our player to the left and give the person to our left a Christmas present of 3 red cards that they probably won't be able to play. Angel of Serenity is just the most powerful card. If someone reanimates it against us, it could hose us. I'm just going to take it. We have a lot of playables, and I'm not too unhappy about that. Master of the Fells. Yeah, it's better than Boros Garrison, so I'm going to take it. Red was wide open. Pretty happy with the deck. We've got Natural Order into Simic Skyswallower. I'm not sure if that's good enough, though. We're definitely playing the Stunted Growth. The problem this draft was I have a few too many of the elves and not enough of the powerful things. So we're going to be very, very fast, but we're going to be very draw dependent on whether we get our powerful spells to ramp into. So that's why I'm going to play the Opposition. I think Opposition is a definite must-play in this deck. We could actually potentially play Inkwell Leviathan. It's only 9 mana, and we have a ton of mana available to us. Garruk Primal Hunter is actually pretty strong. Simic Skyswallower. Nah, we don't need this. We can't Natural Order into it. We also have this black option as well. Sort of like a green-black control option. It's open to us if we want to go there. We just have better green-blue fixing, I think. All the green-black. This does give us some green-black fixing. But we have 2 green-blue fixing, including the Noble Hierarch. Although we do have Elves of Deep Shadow, which would be green-black fixing as well. Definitely want to play Green Sun Zenith here. So this is 23 playables. Not a huge fan of Genesis Wave normally, although I think it's better in this deck than in most decks that I play. It's all permanents, so Let's look at the types of permanents we have. Almost all of the cards in our deck are permanents. Permanent, permanent. So Genesis Wave does not hit these 5 cards. Is it okay to play Genesis Wave when it doesn't hit these cards? I've got 23 playables. I probably don't need it. Probably want to play 17 lands, although with all these elves, probably don't need to. "16 lands is going to be okay, I think. Especially, yeah. Well, Mox Ruby is an off-color land. Gaia's Cradle could tap for a lot. We have space for. Recommends 8-3. Yeah, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I have 11 green sources for my elves. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sources for my blue, which is a little light, but not too bad. Pretty happy with this deck. I think it's a pretty good opposition deck, and I've never drafted a really good opposition deck. Opposition is just a way to make all of these dorky elves much more useful in the late game. Because you get a hand with like 3 elves, 3 lands, and 1 spell. It's really easy to gas out, although Ancestral Recall definitely helps you gas back up. I'm really surprised that we got past the Verdant Catacombs so late. Seems like a really strong fetch land. There were a couple of other surprising passes, like we got past this Ancestral Recall, which was just completely insane. I say I'm surprised I got past this, but in the Powered Cube, there's some pretty broken packs. Like, the person to our right, I think, could have easily taken like a Time Walk, or, Mox Jet, or Mox Emerald, or one of the Mox, or maybe could have taken like a Soul Ring, something like that. So I'm pretty happy with this deck. 15 lands and a Mox, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 1-drops, which help us ramp and help B mana. The Birds of Paradise also gives us blue mana, so I'm actually pretty happy with the amount of blue mana we have. With 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I miscounted originally because I forgot the Birds of Paradise. I'm going to submit. Green Sun Zenith should be pretty solid. Deranged Hermit will be good with the opposition. Frost Titan is just a pretty solid finisher. Not the best, but solid. Simic Sky Swallower is very hard to deal with. Yeah, I like this. I'm going to pause and start recording again once round 1 begins.